Hi, it's Charlie Angus. So, Donald Trump has just bombed Iran. And Benjamin Netanyahu looks like he's sitting on top of the world. Well, actually, he's sitting on top of a pile of bones, bombed out hospitals, thousands of dead Palestinian children, and a Middle East that is now on fire. Netanyahu has used the forever war as a means of staying ahead of the corruption courts, and he's just managed to sucker the United States into providing him cover. So no doubt he's feeling pretty good right now. There was no Iranian nuclear threat. American intel told the president there was no Iranian threat. Tulsi Gabbard, yes, that Tulsi Gabbard, the queen of mega misinformation, testified there was no Iranian threat. And just recently, in a very telling statement at Hiroshima, Ms. Gabbard stated, quote, political elites and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tension between the nuclear powers. Well, Donald Trump didn't like that. But just this past March, it was actually thought that Donald Trump might be the guy to bring the Iranian regime in from the cold. That was when there was negotiations and diplomatic means between Tehran and Saudi Arabia as an American proxy, where they were talking about lifting the sanctions on Iran as an act of goodwill to de-escalate the nuclear program and bring Iran to the table. And Donald Trump was thought it could be the guy to do it because, hey, he really wanted, well, he wanted then the Nobel Peace Prize, but he'd also said he never supported foreign wars. So maybe Donald Trump was the guy to make that happen. But Benjamin Netanyahu was going to make sure that Trump was not going to deliver. Netanyahu stated immediately that the terms of conditions for Iran coming to the table would be regime change. Now think about this. Iran is not just a country, it's one of the world's oldest civilizations. It's a country of 90 million people sitting on the third largest oil reserves in the world, the second largest natural gas reserves in the world. The idea that Tehran could be forced into regime change because Israel dropped some bombs on the city was just ridiculous. So what Netanyahu had to do is he had to sucker in the gangster from Mar-a-Lago. And hey, that's not all that hard. Like, let's face it, Trump hasn't been doing very well recently. People are accusing him of tacoing every time he has to deal with something. So why not start a war in the Middle East, change the channel again? But the real danger here is that now Trump has gone all in. He's been using escalating language like demanding unconditional surrender. And that's a very particular kind of military term. It was used against Japan in the Second World War, which resulted in the dropping of the atom bomb. We're in very dangerous times, my friend. So where do we stand right now? Well, let's look at Donald Trump. As president, the chump got totally played. He has damaged his credibility with his base. He has damaged his credibility on the world stage. Does he back up or does he go further? We don't know. Now, what about Israel? Well, Israel has become more and more isolated on the world stage. Netanyahu is an indicted war criminal. They are being investigated rightly for crimes of mass genocide against the Palestinian people. So right now, Netanyahu thinks he's got all the cards in his hand, but what he's done is he's left Israel a dangerously isolated outlier. And the long-term implications for Israel and the Israeli people, I don't think are all that good. Now, what about the West? Well, it can be said that the credibility of Western moral superiority died in the death camp that is Gaza. We all watched the starving children. We watched the targeting of the hospitals. We watched the targeting of aid workers. And we saw our Western leaders say nothing or tiptoe around it. And what that did was that gave Netanyahu the green light to go further. So are we going to see the Western allies standing up and rallying the world at this time to try and de-escalate? They just don't seem to have the credibility. I really hope our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who's demanded and called for people coming back to the table, I wish him well, but I think the West has really damaged itself at this moment. And then there's Iran. I don't know what the regime in Iran is going to do, but I think the one lesson is that giving up a nuclear option when you're facing these kind of threats of regime change is not something they're going to do. So if they weren't going to go nuclear before, they're probably going to go nuclear now. And that's the world we're in right now. The world is on fire, and we have the dangerous president, the gangster from Mar-a-Lago, pouring gasoline all over the political arson of his fellow gangsters, Netanyahu and Putin, in the war in Ukraine. We have to find a way, my friends, to push back, to show resistance at the grassroots level, to say, hell no, we're not going to go along, and to push our leaders to take a strong moral statement at this time, because right now, these are very, very, very crucial moments. I'm Charlie Angus.